George A. Romero was an American filmmaker, writer, and editor. His Night of the Living Dead series of films about an imagined zombie apocalypse began with the 1968 film of the same name, and is often considered a major contributor to the image of the zombie in modern culture. This gave George the name Godfather of the Dead, inventor of the zombie. Other films in his series included Dawn of the Dead, which came out in 1978, and Day of the Dead, which came out in 1985. Romero was often described as an influential pioneer of the horror film genre and as being called the father of the zombie film, and an icon. George was obsessed with the idea of zombies. Back in the 1940s, a group called 935 signed a contract with the Nazis. The agreement was that the Nazis would provide Group 935 with the funding to conduct their experiments involving teleportation, wonder weapons, and raising the dead, and in return, Group 935 would provide the Nazis with an undead army to turn the tides of the war. Group 935 established multiple hidden facilities around the world to conduct their work in, and one of their facilities was located in Siberia near the Tunguska River. It was here where Group 935 developed a special elixir they called Deadshot Daiquiri, used to help soldiers lock onto the heads of their targets whilst aiming, and where a mad German scientist called Dr. Edward Richthofen conducted experiments on his test subjects. Experiments carried on at this facility all the way until November 5th, 1945, when Group 935 was finally disbanded as a result of a zombie outbreak, leaving the facility to be left abandoned for many years. Over 50 years later, in the mid-2000s, George Romero wanted to do some research for a World War II movie he was working on. However, while conducting his research, he happened to stumble upon some old, interesting Nazi documents. These documents contained information about Element 115, dark magic, raising the dead. The more George learned, the deeper he dug, until he started to come across information pertaining to Group 935. He learnt about their deal with the Nazis, Richthofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, time travel, different dimensions, zombies. George couldn't believe what he was reading, and these documents even revealed that some of this stuff took place in a now abandoned outpost in Siberia.
Years ago, I did research for a World War II movie. I came across some old Nazi documents. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Element 115, necromancers, raising the dead, real creepy stuff.
We're completely surrounded! Come on!
The coolest thing? Some of that crazy shit happened right here.
This intrigued George, already obsessed with the idea of the undead, and now reading that actually they might exist. Of course he had to see this for himself. Not wanting to reveal what he had learned to the world, needing to find an excuse to travel to the abandoned Group 935 facility, George told Hollywood that this was where he wanted to film his latest movie, Call of the Dead, based around 4 lone survivors forsaken on a shipwreck full of the undead, and the cast that he chose to play the star roles was Sarah Michelle Gellar, Danny Trejo, Robert Englund, and Michael Rooker. These were the star cast of George's new movie. On March the 17th, 2011, George, along with the rest of the Call of the Dead cast and crew, travelled to Siberia and began filming for their movie. However, at the same time, Dr. Edward Richthofen, along with his associates, Nikolai, Takeo and Dempsey, as a part of Richthofen's grand scheme which involved collecting the Golden Rod, they teleport from 1963 into the future to 2011 to the abandoned Siberian facility, but accidentally trap themselves behind a locked door. Samantha Maxis, who was in control of the undead, sought to seek revenge on Richthofen for what he did to her and his father. It's a long story, and so sent the real zombies to Siberia to take down Richthofen and his crew. This all took place on the same day that George was filming his movie Call of the Dead. And so, whilst they were filming, as a part of Scene 7, Take 11, while the main cast of Sarah, Danny, Robert and Michael were fighting against a bunch of actors playing the roles of zombies, suddenly, the real zombies sent by Samantha infiltrate the set and kidnap George. The rest of the crew, realising that that wasn't a part of the script, and actually, those zombies aren't actors, but are real, begin fighting off against them in an attempt to survive for their life.
We're completely surrounded! We're completely fucked! Are you girls kidding me? I've been praying for this shit! Come on!
Boys, let's get to work.
For God's sakes, he missed me again! Oh, cut!
Are you blind, man? Like this.
Ow!
See?
No, Jefe, I do it like this.
Daddy!
I do it like this.
Get back to hair and makeup. You don't look dead enough.
Come on, let's go.
That ain't in the script.
Meanwhile, while all of this is going on, George, after being kidnapped, is killed by the zombies and ends up turning into one himself. He becomes infected with Element 115. Now on the same mission as the rest of the zombies, he follows the Call of the Dead cast around the film set in an attempt to finish them off. George had become zombified. The Call of the Dead cast then helped Richtofen to acquire the Golden Rod. Richtofen and his crew then teleport away, and the fate of the cast, trapped in Siberia with the zombies and undead George, is left unknown. A whole month later, on April the 11th, following the disappearance of the Call of the Dead cast and crew, George's assistant, Sally, begins searching for her boss.
It's been 6 weeks since the rest of the Call of the Dead cast and crew went missing. Hollywood's lost its fucking mind on this story. An entire production vanishes? Crazy talk. I told you, this is why you don't shoot in Siberia. So with agent on line 1, manager on line 2, I needed to sort this quickly. I'd rather zombies come for me than an agent. That's real horror. I don't need that. I started going through his research, and good fucking lord, this is a confusing mess. So much shit about time travel, different dimensions. Honestly, I'm not even sure what he's getting into. You couldn't make this stuff up. A mad German scientist, a foul-mouthed American, a drunk Soviet, and a warrior Japanese soldier, all working together?
While doing so, she comes across George's research and discovered that he had learned about time travel, different dimensions, and the fact that zombies were real. This leads Sally into an even deeper wormhole, where she eventually gets herself trapped into a time loop. That's also a different story. But because the cast and crew hadn't been heard from for about 6 weeks since they were announced missing, we can only assume that they all died. The actors were all killed by zombies, and maybe, just like George, even turned into one themselves. And that's it. Everyone dies and turns into a goddamn zombie. But George's story doesn't quite end here. Yes, while he died and turned into a zombie in Siberia in 2011, he did actually pass away in real life in 2017. In the Call of Duty Zombies map Tag der Toten, which takes place in the same location as Call of the Dead, Siberia, however in a different time and universe, a different set of characters called Misty, Molten, Samuel and Russman discover a mysterious pair of glasses resting on a table, noting that these glasses once belonged to the godfather of the zombie film, George A. Romero.
The man who wore these was a trailblazer. Russman salutes him.
These glasses belonged to an icon. We walk in his footsteps.
Rest in peace, old fella. You were a true original.
Whose glasses are these?
A great man, Sammy. He shined a light in the darkest corners of our souls.